Binational Commission this morning.
The delegation led by the two co-chairs, His Excellency President Ramaphosa of the Republic of South Africa and His Excellency President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa. They are now exchanging their copies of their agreed minutes. The job is done. Yes, and we're going to request the two ministers to take their seats. Only the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Zimbabwe to take his seat, because the next stage, we're going to have the Honorable Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Environment, Water, Climate, and Rural Settlement, Honorable Air Chief Marshal Retired Perence Shiri, to sign on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe. And they're signing the Memorandum of Understanding between the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe and the government of the Republic of South Africa on cooperation in the field of agriculture. Agriculture, as you all know, that sector is very important to our two countries. And yet again, this is a concrete way of showing that we are leading in the integration of our two countries, of SADC and of Africa under Agenda 2063. This is the Africa we want, where we cooperate and achieve our desired results, led and driven by none other than our heads of states. The two ministers are signing those MOUs. And this is happening today on the day of the summit, which is the culmination of this Zimbabwe-South Africa Binational Commission Summit. And the next question our private sector are going to ask, how are we going to benefit? That responsibility falls on the sector ministries, if possible, to hold workshops, breakfasts, and explain to the people, the private sector in the two countries, Zimbabweans, South Africans in the diaspora, and members of the public. It is done for you. It is not done for government officials. The beneficiaries are the private sector. Please take advantage of it. If they don't come to you, go and knock on their doors. Their doors are open. They have no excuse. We are now witnessing the handover of the copies of the two agreements that were exchanged. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies and co-chairs of this summit. And thank you to the honorable ministers who have just signed, and also the two foreign ministers who signed the agreement. We are moving on. The rest of the proceedings are open to the media, so you are welcome. You recall we did say we need you, just like you need us. Without our work, you have no work. So please, this time, let's share the joy of what we've achieved during this summit. The next stage is actually the reading of the joint communique. Thank you.
Thank you. I call upon the co-chair to read the joint communique on the third session of the Binational Commission between Zimbabwe and South Africa.
The joint communique on the third session of the Binational Commission between Zimbabwe and South Africa, 7 to 12 March 2019 in Harare and here in Zimbabwe. At the invitation of His Excellency, Comrade Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency, Comrade Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, paid an official visit to Zimbabwe from 11 to 12 March 2019 for the third session of the Binational Commission between the two countries. President Ramaphosa was accompanied by 5 cabinet ministers and 1 deputy minister. The third session was preceded by the meetings of the ministers on 11 March 2019 and the senior officials from 7 to 8 March 2019. During the meeting, the two heads of states held discussions with a view to further strengthening and deepening bonds of friendship and cooperation between Zimbabwe and South Africa. They also exchanged views on regional and continental and international issues of mutual interest. The two presidents underlined the close and friend bilateral ties deeply rooted in shared history, sustained and nourished through growing economic partnership, multifaceted cooperation, as well as vibrant people-to-people contacts. The discussions were held in a very cordial atmosphere. The two heads of state welcomed the positive outcomes of the third Binational Commission held in Harare in 2019. They directed the ministers and officials to implement the decisions taken by the heads of state to further cement the strategic bilateral partnership. The two sides emphasized the importance of expanding trade and investment to drive the strategic engagement forward. In this regard, the heads of states directed their finance and trade ministers to work together to achieve these goals. Zimbabwe highlighted the key initiatives taken by government to improve the ease of doing business in the country and further informed on the country's efforts to simplify and rationalize investment rules with the view to attract foreign direct investment. The two sides agreed to consider options for expanding the standing facility arrangement between the respective central banks. Other financing options beyond this are also being explored. For example, a facility from South African private banks to the Zimbabwean private sector and guaranteed by the South African government with an appropriate counter-guarantee from the Zimbabwean government. They also agreed to work together on re-engagement with the international cooperating partners in support of Zimbabwe's economic reform and debt arrears clearance agenda. Zimbabwe expressed appreciation for the unwavering commitment of the government and the people of South Africa in calling for the removal of illegal and unwarranted sanctions which are stifling the country's economic recovery program. The two leaders unequivocally called for the removal of sanctions on Zimbabwe whose adverse effects have been far-reaching across the political and socio-economic spectrums. The two presidents emphasized the importance of enhancing strategic bilateral engagement, particularly in defense and security cooperation, to accomplish the common interests of the two countries and their peoples. At the multilateral level, the Commission welcomed the convergence of views on regional, continental, and international issues and agreed to further harmonize their positions, especially in view of South Africa's non-permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council and its upcoming assumption of the chair of the African Union in 2020. Zimbabwe expressed goodwill and confidence in the successful holding of elections in South Africa, which will take place on 8 May 2019. The two leaders expressed their deepest condolences to the government and people of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and all the other nations on the sad loss of lives in the recent air disaster involving flight ET-302. At the conclusion of the Binational Commission, His Excellency Comrade Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa expressed gratitude to His Excellency Comrade Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa and the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe for the warm welcome and hospitality accorded to him and his delegation. His Excellency President Ramaphosa extended an invitation to his counterpart, His Excellency President Mnangagwa, to attend the 4th session of the Binational Commission to be hosted by South Africa in 2020 on a date to be agreed and communicated through diplomatic channels. In Harare, 12 March 2019. I thank you.
Sure. May I now request His Excellency President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, to make his closing remarks. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Let us be seated, please. Your Excellency, President Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, Honorable Ministers, and Deputy Ministers, our respective High Commissioners and Ambassador, senior government officials, and members of the media, and ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to once again express my most sincere gratitude to you, Your Excellency, as well as to your delegation for hosting this very, very successful Binational Commission. Allow me to also commend the manner in which you have led our meeting and our discussions, and for the wonderful and warm atmosphere in which our deliberations took place. I applaud our respective ministers and their delegations for the dedication as well as for the hard work that ensured the success of this meeting. This third session of the South Africa and Zimbabwe BNC has been an important milestone in the development and furtherance of our bilateral relations. I wish to thank the ministers for the comprehensive report that has been presented here this morning, a report which, as you guided us through the meeting, really elicited quite a lot of interest as well as discussions where views were exchanged in a very, very forward-looking manner. Indeed, much has been achieved since our two countries last met in Pretoria in October of 2017. I'm encouraged by the progress detailed to date and am inspired by the plans that have been laid out for the future. The BNC is proving to be a critical vehicle for accelerating interaction and relations between our two countries, as it enables us to deal with pertinent issues and matters between our two countries at a very deep level. The report of the BNC is the culmination of several days of detailed discussion between our various government departments and their principals. With regards to pending agreements and issues raised here today, I'm convinced that there will be further discussions. There will also be visits and exchanges by relevant stakeholders between our two countries. I once again want to take this opportunity to reiterate the importance of our economic relations, which serve as a bedrock of the region's and the continent's economic cooperation and intertrade Africa. Regional development and economic integration are crucial to addressing issues such as poverty, underdevelopment, and marginalization. The SADC Free Trade Area, the Tripartite Free Trade Area, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area are all crucial instruments to address these issues in our region and on our continent, Africa as well. South Africa and Zimbabwe's bilateral relations continue to grow in all areas and sectors, with the 2018 bilateral trade statistics indicating that Zimbabwe remains one of South Africa's largest trading partners on the continent. I am very pleased, Your Excellency, that as we conclude this meeting, we do so with a strong sense of optimism, an optimism that is based on actual implementation of the various areas that we have committed ourselves to. As our relations continue to grow, the role of the BNC in providing strategic direction is likely to become more and more important. Following this successful third session of our BNC, I would like to take this opportunity to extend an invitation to you, Your Excellency, to the next session of the BNC, which will be held in South Africa in 2020 on a date to be mutually agreed. I thank you and all those who have participated in this BNC, which I and my delegation characterize as a most successful BNC to date. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Your Excellency. At this point in time, we're now requesting His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, to present his closing remarks. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Please be seated. Your Excellency, brother and colleague, Comrade Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Ministers from South Africa and Zimbabwe who are here, the Ambassador of the Republic of South Africa to Zimbabwe, Ambassador M.N. Mbete, and the Zimbabwe Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa, Ambassador Ahmad Ziripi, senior government officials from South Africa and Zimbabwe, members of the media fraternity, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. It is my privilege to address you once again as we come to the conclusion of our deliberations under the framework of the third session of the Zimbabwe-South Africa Binational Commission, the BNC. I want to register my profound appreciation for the exceptionally cordial atmosphere that prevailed during our discussions. It is commendable that differences were resolved in the true spirit of friendship and solidarity designed to enhance cooperation and build consensus for win-win outcomes in our relations. This indeed is in keeping with the deep historical, cultural, and economic ties that bind us together. Let us therefore remain cognizant of the fact that what affects one affects the other. The economic prosperity in one country has a stimulus effect on the other. Likewise, economic regression in one country has a pull-down effect on the other. Your Excellency, colleague and brother, distinguished guests, let me reiterate that South Africa is our strong ally, Zimbabwe's largest trading partner, and one of the top investors in our economy. It goes without saying, therefore, that Zimbabwe will always be favorably disposed towards working with and responding to the respective business and investment needs of our brothers and sisters from South Africa. I wish to applaud the signing of yet another MOU by the two sides. This MOU will facilitate increased cooperation in the field of agriculture. I was talking to the Foreign Minister of South Africa about the weather. Then, Your Excellency, she said that there's plenty of rain, especially in the Eastern Cape. But she said there's no technology to transfer it to Zimbabwe. So it will remain there. We do not have the rains here for the last 2 weeks, I think, and our maize crop is wilting. So we would want to employ our scientists to be able to share the rains in the future. I yet again exhort our two sides to vigorously pursue the implementation of those signed agreements in the past. As we end this third session of our Binational Commission, I urge ministers and officials on both sides to be action-oriented Let us all focus on the implementation of the areas that we discussed and agreed on. Our next session of the BNC should record marked progress and success in all the agreed areas of our cooperation. Your Excellency, defense and security remain key to the consolidation of our democracies, our peace, our stability and harmony within our respective countries. In line with our collective desire to see African solutions to African problems, it is imperative, my brother, that we continue to make conscious decisions to resist any forces that may seek to divide us, both in our region and on the continent at large. Once again, my administration is grateful for calls for the removal of sanctions on Zimbabwe. In this respect, I applaud you and your government, together with the SADC and the African Union, for persistently calling for the unconditional removal of these ruinous sanctions on us. Allow me to pay tribute to our officials who did the spade work for us to have these smooth deliberations today. But of course, the credit is ours. Because we appointed the correct people in correct places. Allow me to wish you, my dear brother, and the people of South Africa, successful elections in May 2019. It is also our success as you succeed in those elections. With these few remarks, I declare the third session of the Zimbabwe-South Africa Binational Commission officially closed. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
If you may please take your seats. We are going to the last segment of our summit, now that the summit has been officially closed by President Mnangagwa.
Well, that's the end of that binational commission between Zimbabwe and South Africa, and we're going to go for a quick break and have news for you thereafter.